Previously on the 8-Question Show.
Take someone who is addicted to alcohol.
Okay.
Take someone who is addicted to drugs. That relationship that they have with what is that? Is that possession? No, it's not as such. But it is sinfulness.
What you can't afford, that's why I'm frontline, hand to sword. I do this all for myself, not the cash or no damn award. I need intelligence to craft my bars. I need the medicine that grows effervescent from the hands of God. I need inheritance to slash the odds, create a pipeline to the well while you grasp at straws. 8 questions, 8 questions, 8 questions, 8 questions, 8 questions, 8 questions, 8 questions.
Welcome back to the 8-Question Show. We are still here with Monsignor Esseff. Monsignor, the question we have, question 3, is how do you diagnose possession? And what, if any, are the degrees of possession? And the reason I ask this question is because many people will say, there is no such thing as possession. What we perceive to be possession, in fact, is some type of severe mental disorder, really, that you're ill in some way, but by no means is there any spiritual implications of what we might consider a possession. So how does the Catholic Church and yourself actually know when a true possession is occurring?
What I did with this particular question is I've often brought in, there's people presented to me and they'll sit down, and this kid looks like he's possessed, and they go on as if they know how to diagnose this particular characteristic of the possession of their child. Well, there are incidents in the scriptures that indicate how and what happens to a possessed person. And one of the things that is very characteristic of possessed people is they have an aversion to holy things. And one of the very simple diagnoses is, and you may think this is kind of simple, but is holy water. I simply sprinkle people with holy water. Holy water is blessed. It has a power about it, and especially if it's high octane. That is, if I have salt and water together that are consecrated and dedicated to sprinkling of places where there might be satanic influence. I'll sprinkle that person with holy water. If you see a running away and a feeling of, in fact, some people say, that burns. Well, I got a more satanic view of what that has done. In fact, I have seen sometime it will happen, that it'll blister.
Can you tell us any stories where you perhaps went through the process and determined that they were in fact possessed?
Most of the time, not.
Interesting.
Many times not. Secondly, they have an aversion to holy things. Holy water that I had brought here, especially the crucifix. The crucifix is a powerful sacramental. And then there's a medal that especially it's the medal of St. Bernard. It's used against the demonic. And I have a couple of those here also.
For our listeners and our viewers, if you're following us on YouTube, we'll take some pictures. We'll also have pictures of the actual tools available online on Instagram. But please continue, Monsignor. So an aversion to holy things.
Holy things.
Holy water, touching their flesh in some way, having a reaction.
The Blessed Sacrament, the Eucharist, is a very powerful diagnostic. Also, we come to know the presence of the evil one when the person begins to speak in languages that that person hasn't studied.
Come on.
When they begin to talk about and begin to correct your language, when you are reading in Latin, that person did not have a chance to study Latin. And you hear the devil laughing at you at the way you just pronounced that. Yeah, he knows Latin better than you do.
Wow.
Or that person may have other knowledge that's far more sophisticated than you ever would.
So you have seen instances where someone did not speak a lick of Latin, and suddenly they're correcting you on your Latin.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so in the movies.
So you're actually dealing with what you know now is you're dealing with a possessed person.
I see.
Got it. How correct are movies? When you see someone who is possessed and they have them chained down, you know,
Right.
and because I know movies fictionalize and they exaggerate a lot because of, you know, they want people to pay attention to the movies. But in your experience, what's the most extreme that you've seen? Because if you look at movies and think you think that you're not talking or dealing with a possessed person if you don't see them walking backwards on their hands and feet. And I'm pretty sure, because I've always thought that if something as powerful as a demon gets chained up, I would assume that they could get away from the, being held down. So what's the most severe that you've seen, or extreme versions of someone being possessed?
The other thing that you will see is extraordinary strength. That power, and I have seen women who are very slight, who can hold up a man with one hand, and a great big burly guy, maybe like you and Kris, they could just hold them up. The extreme strength that is displayed by the satanic, then you know you're dealing with a different entity.
How do they pick the person to possess?
That's why, especially in the demonic that I come across just once in a while, that have this great strength. They have to be held down by 3 or 4 men. And then there's those, what are those things that keep a person chained?
Shackles? Shackles? Like when they're shackled?
The shackling, their body.
Like a straitjacket.
Straitjacket.
Yeah.
Straitjacket. That's what. Yeah, they would have to submit to that. Because if that person knows that that entity is within them, and that there will have to be straitjacketed in order to be dealt with. And they have to sign to that.
That's interesting. I wonder, like, how, like, if one, how did they choose, and then two, what happens to the person after they're cast out? Like,
Which is one of our next questions.
Oh, sorry.
But
Which you would have to get rid of that entity before we take off the straitjacket.
oh, okay.
so, Monsignor, the follow-up question that we had prepared is, are there degrees of possession?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
elaborate a bit?
Yeah. I would say don't forget that the temptation is the ordinary tool of Satan. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Obsession is much more frequent than we think it is.
Meaning,
Obsessing in thought,
I see.
to obsess a person.
Okay.
That's what Eve was being not only tempted, but obsessed.
I see.
She was obsessed.
With the fruit.
Couldn't stop thinking about
Right.
The fruit
about
itself.
what will happen when she
Rolling
takes the
it over in her mind, going, obsession.
Okay.
And long before she gave in to eating the forbidden fruit.
So temptation, obsession.
Okay.
Oppression. Now, I remember once I was assigned to, there's actually territory that the devil can be in charge of.
Territory.
He can possess a piece of property.
Wow.
And you can experience that he's in charge of this place or this area, and so this farm or this particular ground, and so it's like he has control, a place where he is and in control. I have sometimes been across this kind of diagnosis.
You sense it. You just feel a difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. That there's all kinds of activity going on in this place.
I see.
Monsignor, I want to get your take on something too, in terms of diagnosis of possession, not necessarily before you perform an exorcism, but people in public that may seem like they're possessed. So, for example, serial killers. Would that be a version of someone who was possessed? Somebody who was extreme as Adolf Hitler. Would that be somebody who's possessed? Because they were obsessing, or he was particularly obsessing of extincting the Jews from the face of the earth. And was very persuasive to an entire army to take this out. Serial killers who, just kill.
Well,
Now,
what would you think when we have to deal with someone like Putin, who is the head of his behavior and what he has been doing in public these past years? I think it's just a very important question for us when we pray, especially. I believe that prayer is so important for this area of the world.
absolutely.
So you left off at oppression. So you said that there was temptation, there was obsession, then there was oppression,
obsession,
obsession,
oppression.
oppression.
Because I woke up one day and I felt something on my chest. I felt I was being pinned down in my bed. And I actually felt being pinned down. And I wanted to get up. And I felt a force against me. And I thought, who is this? And I decided that I'm going to get up. And I got knocked out. And I was told, you should not do this in this place. It was a seminary. Because there was, and actually, that force can come against you. So I didn't do it anymore until I got some other exorcist to go with me. You can become so hard-headed. Think you can take on the world.
So you try to cast out whatever that was on your own.
And it was powerful.
So then is there anything after oppression? Because I heard of this concept of perfect possession as like the epitome of...
No, that's where you get the lifting up off the ground. And that's where you get those kind of cases.
Have you ever encountered an incident of perfect possession?
People just coming in or able to come up off the ground. Yeah.
Where did you experience that type of possession?
Well, they want you to be afraid. And if you say, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. You don't cause me any fear.
Yeah.
They try to make a spectacle to intimidate you.
Yeah.
I see.
I think there's a lot of demons that want to cause fear.
Nice.
Absolutely.
He is afraid of you. If you're a true Christian, he is afraid of you. Why? Because you have Christ within you. And the only one who has power over him is Jesus. I myself don't have power over him. That's not within me. I am without any power. And the more I depend, and that's one of our big sins that I believe, self-reliance. We're taught, and when we grow up, especially we men, we're taught when we grow up. I remember I went to first grade, and in first grade, I just remember this kid, Jackie Karras. Jackie Karras bloodied this kid's nose. And I came home and told my dad. I said, Dad, Jackie Karras came over and I saw him. He hit a kid in the nose and it was bled. And he said, well, what are you afraid of? I said, well, Dad, he might think about coming toward me tomorrow. He said, is that what's bothering you? He bought me a pair of boxing gloves. And he bought my brother a pair of boxing gloves. And he put up a ring in our basement. And he hired Neff Corey to teach us boxing. Bob and weave. Here I am, 5 and 6 years old. We're training with boxing. Self-reliance. There's nothing you can't do. We men are brought up with that. And then we meet a demon and we get afraid. No, our Father has knocked him out. And he did that years ago. And I'm not afraid of that.
So to wrap it up,
Amen.
I mean, there's clearly some differences between mental disorders and outright demonic possession. Not limited to, of course, quite literally levitating in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, superhuman strength. Women that are able to lift up men that are 3 or 4 times their size with one arm. I mean, I thought probably one of the most interesting ones was the fact that they are able to speak different languages that they've never been trained in, and they were even correcting you on your Latin, even though that person never studied Latin. So it does seem that there is quite a regimented process that you would have to go through to distinguish between a mental disorder and possession. So the next question we have for you on the next episode is, and this is where it gets really good, what actually occurs during an exorcism and when is it complete? We will see you next episode.
On the next episode of the 8 Question Show.
I think one of the most important things is that the exorcist form a team. And the first group that you should form is a group of prayers.